All right, guys. So today I have on the show is Janelle Amos. She's the founder and CEO of Elevate Growth. Thanks for jumping on the show.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
So let's dive right into the questions that I have for you. I'm excited about this too. I've been excited all morning for this. I've been seeing you post a lot on LinkedIn, so I'm like, I got to have you on the show. So, what inspired you to start your career in B2B marketing?
That's a funny question because it's by total accident, to be honest with you. I actually went to college and declared social work as my major. And I went
Wow.
through some of the courses, and realized that like the admin side of social work more than the actual counseling side of it. And I kind of had this realization that I was like, for a business admin degree, I can get paid a lot more for that type of work instead of under a social work degree. So I changed my major. I happened into business admin, and everybody was like, "Okay, but what's your concentration going to be?" And I was like, "I don't know. You need a list of concentration. Like you're asking an 18-year-old to make these type of like life-altering decisions."
Right.
And like low key, I just took a bunch of personality tests and I just did a bunch of research on the different ones. And it said marketing would be a great fit. And I said, what the hell? Declared it. I did my first marketing 101 course, fell in love, continued on, graduated, took my first couple of jobs in just B2B world as marketing specialists and assistants, very entry level roles, and really never looked back. Loved it ever since. And so total chance of just switching my major in personality tests.
Seriously, personality test. How many did you take? Like 3, 4?
Oh man, I don't even remember. Probably around that time.
That's interesting. And then did you start in the tech SaaS industry or was it something else?
No, I actually started in mortgage and I hated it. Not the
Interesting.
job, the industry.
Yeah.
And I used it as like a pivoting moment into going more towards digital marketing, actually was my interest at the time.
Uh-huh.
And I stumbled upon a title that had both digital and demand marketing. And that's how I started getting more into demand gen and just kind of challenging the status quo on why we should be doing these things. And that is what started catapulting my career in that demand gen area.
So what sparked your interest about demand gen was more the how to prove to other people about why they should be doing a certain thing.
And also the psychological part of it. That's one of the things that I've really loved about marketing is
Mm-hmm.
understanding why somebody buys what they buy, why they do what they do, what motivates an individual. And in order to be successful at marketing, not only do you have to believe in what you're selling and promoting, but you also have to understand your audience really, really well. And you
Mm-hmm.
have to communicate that right through the messaging and the channels and stuff. And that's kind of a challenge for me on tackling who that audience is, how I can resonate and connect what I'm trying to sell to them and promote to them on why it fits their need. And that's another like stereotype that I like to break down with like some family members. They're like, oh, you're just scamming people and you're in like, those pyramid scams
The
and
pyramid
marketing is
schemes.
this. Yeah. And I'm like, marketing is so much more than that. So I just like being able to break that down more from just a professional level and saying, I'm not trying to force a sell on somebody. I'm trying to educate them that they have this actual need and that there's a problem for it. Like they don't have to feel like there's no solution, right? Like we're fulfilling a need in marketing. We're not just trying to force a sale.
Yeah.
So
And just going a little bit deeper here, like why demand gen? Why not become a customer research expert? Like why not go down that path?
that's a really good question. Because I like the challenge of acquiring individuals' interest, whereas customers is a little bit more of just understanding the research behind it. But I like to do it all. I like to understand why, put it together, do it, and then say I won. And I
Mhm.
feel like demand gen gives me that opportunity to kind of connect it all the way through.
Is there any other type of marketing role that also gives you that opportunity other than demand gen?
Well, I think they all do in different ways.
Hmm.
And I think that goes back to how people define and categorize demand gen. Some
Sure.
people think demand gen is just a pay channel, right? Like all pay channels. Some people think demand gen is just brand awareness.
That's true.
But I think a lot of it is anything that's like go to market. Any teams that are go to market would fulfill that need, in my opinion, because you're still connecting that messaging to that audience and level of captivations, sorry, words, from either top of funnel, middle funnel, customers, upselling, cross selling. So, I mean, all different
Hmm.
areas of it.
Yeah. And I ask all these questions because I'm extremely curious to know why the demand gen path. Why not the whole customer research path or something different, right?
Yeah.
Heck, why not sales, right? But
Yeah. I get that often too. It's like, you sure you don't want to join my team? And I'm like,
I
oh.
mean, right? Especially since you're already like in the how do you call it, the revenue? You're already close to the revenue, so it's like, why not get commission on this? Why not do all these other things, right?
Yeah, no, I hear you. Also, it's a common term that I think is going to be surfacing the next couple of years on if marketing should be commissioned for their percentage of the pipeline that they own.
But doesn't
Um,
demand gen experts already get commission for some of the pipeline?
I have not since I've been in house. I don't know if
Okay,
that's a new thing happening.
I think it is.
It should be.
It
So
should.
I'm glad that it is, but I was never actually
Actually,
part
I
of it.
don't even know. I've talked to one or two demand gen experts, and they said that they are getting commission from.
Good. They should. They're working hard.
Yes, but he was saying also it depends where you define it at. Like
Mhm.
what stage of the journey are they going to, you know, MQLs, other things, right? Like
Yeah.
where are you going to define it? Because if they don't end up closing, you still worked all the way from 1 through 10, right?
Yep.
So
And
that,
so the recommendation there is to anything that impacts pipeline. Whether or not it closes doesn't mean that marketing didn't source it. So
mhm,
if it impacts an open sourced pipeline, that's when it should be a part of that percent, because the marketing goal is normally 30% of pipeline. It's not
right.
30% of closed one, of, of any of those other metrics. So it
Yeah.
should be of what's actually getting sourced.
Let's talk a little bit about you being the founder and CEO of Elevate Growth. So how long have you been in business now?
I founded Elevate Growth in December of 2021. So I think
Okay.
we're in Q2 now.
During the pandemic. We're still in the
Yep.
pandemic. So B2B marketer turned to entrepreneur. Um, what have you been learning since starting your business? How different has it been? And because it is a big difference from being a B2B marketer for a, SaaS company, and
Yeah.
then you actually doing your own marketing with your own funds, right?
Yeah.
And what other challenge? Another question to throw in there. Well, let's just start there. But the other question that I had was, what challenges have you faced that were not foreseen?
Yeah. Two challenges come to mind. One, also, my story is that I was walking away from an in house role to be the founder of Elevate Growth pretty much from like a Friday to a Monday. So, the ongoing challenge that I'm faced right now is just making sure that I'm hustling my pipeline and making sure that I'm replacing that salary that I walked away from. So, that's just always something that's on my mind. The second one is the budget. When I work with
Mhm.
my clients or when I was in house, you have a marketing budget. You have hundreds of thousands of dollars of marketing budget, and you can
Right.
slice and dice that by channel however you want, and you can test. When it's just you and you broke out from no cushion, you really got to get scrappy and you've
Yeah.
got to really be picky on the channels and how much and where you spend your time. So
So
that's
true.
been fun.
So true. And the other question that I have is, because we do have B2B marketers that listen to the show, and there's a handful of them that, maybe more than a handful, that are in the same position where, or maybe they're entertaining the idea of starting their own marketing agency or creative agency or consulting agency, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, they kind of want to hear stories. That's why I'm asking you these types of stories. Did you wait for your salary to be equal as what you were making as a corporate marketer and then make the transition, or did you make the transition before then?
Great question. No, I did not do any type of side hustle. I did not do I did not build Elevate Growth for 2 years to build up that salary in order to say now I'm comfortable enough to branch out. I was actually forced with a decision to make a decision that I just didn't feel comfortable with, and they gave
Mhm.
me 30 days to decide. And
That's a lot of
within
pressure.
it really was. It was the hardest decision of my entire life, to be totally honest with you. And within those 30 days, the first 2 weeks, I just started like assessing friends, family, colleagues, everybody that I knew. And I was asking them what they would do. Like, would you keep your full time job and like
All
job
right.
security and financial support for your family? Or would you say, like, nah, this is ridiculous and like not put up with it? Like, where's the balance? Where's the line that you draw? And then after those kind of surveys and polls that I did, the last 2 weeks, I had made my decision and I said, I'm not going to stand for this. I need to make a good role model for my daughter. And I just don't think I'd be able to sleep and live with myself if I just gave in to something like that. That it was just such a life altering decision for me. And so I walked away cold turkey, Friday to Sunday. I mean, I within those 2 weeks, I, did my LLC, I landed my clients, and I was hustling and grinding like crazy, but I had nothing to fall back on. So my recommendation to people who are wanting to do this is to build something in the background and don't do what I did, because it's been really hard. So if you can start a side hustle, yes, try. And I always think that you should have something going on in the background, because I think, as we're also finding on LinkedIn today, is a lot of layoffs are happening. I was actually laid off when the pandemic first happened in 2020, kind of also took me in the direction of where I am today. Right. But I just think in the corporate world, you're kind of just, I don't know, a needle in an ocean. And if you can do anything, it would be to empower yourself to not be put in a situation like I was, to where you can always say, nah, I don't need this. I've got something else that I can go to that works for you, that's better for you. And it's ultimately, the direction that you're probably supposed to take anyways.
That's awesome feedback. Now, hustling, grinding, all that stuff is legit as an entrepreneur. I can 100% relate with that.
Yeah.
How did you go about hustling based on your situation?
Yeah. A lot of it started with the same people that I was asking for the surveys of what would they do in that situation. And after I circled back with them and I said, listen, I made my decision. I'm not going to put up with it. The kind of the raw behind that was there. They were like, oh, how can I help? I want you to be successful. And a lot of them are my mentors, my career mentors to begin with. Nice. So I'm still in touch with a lot of them. And they were the pivoting moment of Elevate Growth, because I've had 2 clients already out of the 4 that I've been working with have come from them.
Wow.
So, I mean, just 50%, right? Like, that's crazy. Yeah. And they've carried me through where I am today, and they still continue to. And I've been doing some like guest webinars with them. I've been doing some other stuff. Like, they're just on my side.
And these are also B2B marketers, right?
They are. They're actually like CMOs. They're fractional CMOs. They're business owners. Nice. So I would also offer a point of recommendation is try to connect upwards in the B2B world, because those are going to be the people who have your back. It's great to have peers. You should have peers, but you should also kind of like position yourself in a CYA moment to have the individuals that are higher ups that can support you in your career and the longevity of it.
Now, another question that I have is, I love this conversation, just so
Me
you know,
too.
is what have you learned, kind of like an aha moment where you didn't see it as a corporate B2B marketer, now you see it as an entrepreneur?
That's a good one. I don't know how to answer that one.
Or maybe it is budget.
Or maybe it was budget. Yeah. But I'll think about that and circle back with you.
Yeah. No worries. So another question I have for you is, what's a commonly held belief in B2B marketing that you passionately disagree with?
I'm gonna get trouble for this one, but let the comments come. I think that B2B companies slow down their pipeline by forcing people to go through discovery calls. There, I said it. I think if a company is doing a demand gen model, and you're attracting individuals who are ready, willing, and excited to buy, let them buy. And I think at some point, like, we could even go self-service. I know I'm going to get a lot of backlash for that too, but we need to think way more innovative in the B2B space. We're so outdated, in my opinion. And I think part of the biggest hinge for that outdated process is forcing them to go through like a 12-step qualification call before they can even get a demo. Like, if I'm all bought in, ready to see a demo, like, give me a freaking demo. And so I think B2B sales teams make it a little bit too complicated for individuals to work their way through the funnel. And okay, there, I said it.
You're like, I'm going to shut up before people start coming. We got people commenting on this live stream. No, I'm just kidding.
Bring it.
So that's interesting. So you're talking about B2B SaaS companies when it comes to the product and demos. Do you have that same mentality for even B2B service companies?
I think the lens could be applied in any industry, any department, any processes. From a marketing perspective, you can apply that same lens on ways to reduce friction. I think it's way more commonly talked about in marketing than it is in sales, though. So I think the disbelief that I would kind of like to kind of shatter is saying that sales also needs to be modernized to support some of the changes that the marketing teams are doing, which is stuff like demand gen, right? And we're trying to support that modern B2B persona and what those look like. And it's way more B2C, right? But B2C marketing only works if you have B2C sales as well.
Right.
So I think it could translate to anything, not just necessarily B2B SaaS.
Now, if we talk about, let's just go on the free trial and stuff, right? Let's just go down your rabbit hole. So if we're doing that, no booking time on anyone's calendar, give them the free trial. How long are we talking about for free trials? 30 days? Longer?
I think it depends on if you're going to be giving them full entire access, if you're going to be restricting some features, if you're going, there's so many different options that go with that. Yeah, it really depends. It also depends on how long it takes for them to see that value. Is where I would say however long it takes for them to see that value. Here's a great example. One of my clients actually work on a gamification tool for sales team. Gamification happens at a quarterly basis when they put in kind of those spiffs, those the incentives that sales teams have for hitting their quota or missing their quota, the morale and engagement that's behind them to keep that momentum going. Because you have like your quarter kickoff or your fiscal year kickoff, everybody's like, yay, raha, let's go. And then as the quarter goes down, the work gets hard, people like the momentum, the morale, they start to kind of just loosen and get discouraged. There's platforms in place that actually help support that morale, and they make it in a way that is through gamification, right? Or gamification. And so for that, because it's triggered on quarterly quotas, the minimum you have to do that for is a quarter. Other products, sometimes you just need it to do just this one quick video and the value is right there, and that could be 7 days, right? So the challenge would be is what is that value point to where the prospect would be like, aha, I need this, I get it now. That's however long your free trial should be.
What's your thoughts on no free trials?
As opposed to?
Free trials.
Well, like free trials
just sign up and credit card on file, let's rock and roll.
Yeah, why not?
I mean, some companies do that, right?
Yeah.
But I guess it depends, right, on everything that you just mentioned too.
There's so many components to it. A lot of people like to make it more complex than needed. What's wrong with having the credit card on file and letting them figure it out? People would be like, oh, our product is too complex, they're not going to be able to figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay, do support tutorials. Do videos, walk them through that, emails, hand-holding, customer success calls. Like there's ways to support that. People just aren't open to it.
The thing that I don't like when I'm on LinkedIn or other social media channels is when I see these B2B SaaS companies, they'll put like an ad, and I don't know if it's an ad or maybe it's a regular post. I don't know if it was sponsored, but it says like a gift card for signing up for a demo.
Oh yeah, those are my favorite.
They're your favorite?
Oh, I meant that sarcastically. No, like gotcha. I always joke when I see those, like those are a great example of what not to do.
Yes. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about this because I don't like that personally. It's like a very sleazy, cheap way to just get someone to sign up. Like I'm more like do better and make your product awesome, and talk about your product more.
Yeah.
Like if I have a need for your product, like expose that, like make it known. That way the need's there and I can jump on all over it and stuff. And do an Amazon gift card if you're gonna do a gift card. Like don't just do like Starbucks or some other type of gift cards. But anyways, gift cards should not be on the table is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think there's two things to unpack there. One is a lot of people try to compensate how long that demo is, 30 minutes to an hour. And then people add that dollar value to the gift card that they're being asked. So if you're saying, I'll give you $25 to get a 30-minute demo, you're saying, my time is only worth $25. Or if you give somebody $100,
Wow.
it's like you're valuing me at $100. So people could really be offended by the time duration that you're asking for them through that, like, I don't know, hourly cost of what they're throwing out there. The
Right.
second one is you're also assuming that the individual that you're presenting this to has any type of knowledge and or care about your product or service to where that demo would actually give an output that you're even wanting. That's a great way to just get a bunch of people who would sit on a demo to get the free money that would never mean anything to your business down the road. And to your point, it's a very poor kind of outbound tactic. You have no idea where they are in the funnel. And so people will be like, oh, well, we're only going to offer to those who are in an opportunity or those who, you know, we're really close to accelerate or to get that point of conversion. I'm like, okay, sure. But at that point, they know who you are and they haven't done it yet. Why haven't they? Giving them $25 isn't going to push them over the edge. Sorry.
Yeah, boom. That is really good insights. You guys should send her the Amazon gift card just for the heck of that.
I'll take all your money. No, just kidding.
Just give her the Amazon gift cards. Just don't put a price tag on it. Awesome. No, that's really good. So you started a new podcast. It's called The Demand Gen Made Simple Podcast, right?
Mm-hmm.
What made you want to launch your new podcast?
Oh, so many things. One is to say you're a podcast host and to be doing a podcast is fun. It's challenging. It's, I don't know, beneficial to your business as well. The second part is it's also a great way to create demand for my own business and my brand. And if it's one of the things that I'm going to be presenting to my clients as a road of opportunity, I should, one, probably know how to do it, know how to advise on it, and know how to showcase the value of it. I did the same thing with TikTok. I had to put myself on TikTok because I can't just walk the walk. I can't just talk the talk. I never get that phrase right. I can't just talk the talk. I have to walk the walk too. You know, if we're talking about modernizing marketing to fit that modern B2B persona, some of the ways to do that is through podcasts and through TikToks and through other like social channels like Facebook ads and Instagram ads. And a lot of B2B companies just aren't there yet. But if I'm trying to position that for my company in terms of strategies and the projection of growth that it can have for them, I need to be able to back that up too, because I would be such a hypocrite otherwise, right? So not only is it fun, it supports me in the direction that I want to go to enable my clients.
That's awesome. The other question that I had is, I mean, you want to talk a little bit about what your podcast is about?
Yeah. So what I'm hoping to do is break down the misconceptions of demand gen, the confusion, the complexities. One feedback I had from an individual is they're like, oh, we follow a bunch of demand gen individuals on LinkedIn, but they use so many marketing jargons and acronyms. And I have no idea what they are.
Yep.
And they're like, what does it even mean? What's the impact to the business behind that? Why should we even care? And so I'm hoping to extract some of those nuggets into my episodes and say, here's what it means, here's why it's important, and here's why you should consider it. So the perfect world is to strip it to a point where somebody can really walk away and say, I get it now from all the things that they hear on LinkedIn, in addition to my podcast.
I love that. And then your ideal customer is also probably not in the weeds and all the jargon and everything, right?
They could be. Yeah. I mean, my ICP is kind of like head of marketing and or head of sales. But the acronyms between those two teams also vary a lot, right? So
that's true. You're right. There's a lot of people on LinkedIn that are really thick in the weeds, like about the lingo, everything. Like they'll start talking about Salesforce lingo too. And I was like, dang, some people don't even have that CRM. Like, and they just get really into it. Where I do know they are B2B marketers, right? But even the B2B marketers who are their peers, half of it goes over their head.
And they're too afraid to ask.
And they're like, I think I'm going to hit like, you know? So anyways, I do think it's great that you break it down and you make it simple.
Trying to.
Yeah, as much as possible, because there's a whole different type of B2B marketers that would really enjoy it. And it's kind of like that same thing where it's like, I just need the simple version, plain English. I just want to know how to go from point A to point D.
Yeah. It's also a lot of stuff that we support in like our marketing strategies as well. Make sure you're talking in a way that your audience understands. If
Right.
you wouldn't write this way for your own audience, why would you write that way to promote your own brand and business?
Exactly. Now let's talk about your ideal customer. So you mentioned head of marketing, head of sales. Can we get a little bit more specific about that? Like, who is your ideal customer?
Yeah. My ideal customer is a head of marketing or VP of marketing that just is at a startup and needs growth, but doesn't have the resources. And they
Are we talking
want
about
to.
Series A, Series B?
It doesn't really matter as long as they have the budget behind it. No, I'm just kidding. Normally, it's anywhere between about seed to about Series C is where I see the most benefit in
Okay.
terms of using Elevate Growth's services. And what I mean by that is most of the startups that I work with, they start with sales. And they're
Mm.
saying now we need to have marketing on board to feed the sales team. And they just need a lot of help. And so working with kind of that head of marketing individual to say, here's how we're going to plan out that strategy, here's how we're going to plan out that growth, and help them as they continue to build that in-house marketing team. It's essentially enabling those breadcrumbs for them to be on the right path for success, not only for the business, but that marketing team as a whole. Oftentimes, because companies start with sales first, I also get introduced to either the founders, co-founders, or the VP of sales, where they're saying, this is what we want to do. Here's where we want to go. And they want to totally outsource the marketing to Elevate Growth, which is great, right? Just your contact changes from VP of marketing to kind of VP of sales or the founder. But in an ideal world, I would love to work more with head of marketers because you're speaking the same language.
Right.
And you're
And you're not
going out.
wasting their time.
Yeah. So ideal customers marketing, but just due to the nature of working with startups, it comes in with a couple other departments and titles as well.
Nice. Now, this is still for the industry. We're still talking B2B SaaS companies, right?
B2B SaaS startups are my ICP.
Startups. Boom. Specific startup, or we'll just leave it at that.
Startups between seed probably to about Series A.
Okay.
And then if they have the budget and kind of the investment backing to support a demand gen and or marketing growth, then that's when we'll be a really good fit.
Awesome. So there you go, guys. If you guys need a demand gen expert and that's within the criteria, reach out to Janelle on
Or if it's
LinkedIn.
not, I'd love to connect and chat and potentially.
No,
refer
you have to be
else.
in the criteria, guys. Not just like no, totally. So last question that I have here. How are you doing on time?
Oh, I'm good.
We're good? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips for B2B marketing professionals?
Any professionals, in-house professionals, entrepreneur professionals, or?
Let's talk about in-house B2B marketing professionals.
Ooh, love it. Don't be afraid to challenge the status quo. Best practice doesn't always mean best performing.
Wow, that was a 1-2 punch. That was good.
Thanks, I thought about it on the spot.
Yeah, that's really good. Awesome. Well, I appreciate Janelle, and thank you for your time.
No, thank you, Jesus. Really appreciate your time as well.
We'll keep in touch.
Of course.